Hello YouTube. Today I've got my Zorki 4 again. This is my parts donor. And I'm going to show you how I adjusted the horizontal viewfinder adjustment on my camera. This isn't the only way to do it, I'm sure. However, it's how I did it, and I got it pretty close. And what that is when your two images come together, looking through the viewfinder, they should be like that when you're properly adjusted and in focus. And what mine was doing was significantly off, like that. And what I did was I brought the two images back together. It's still off a little bit, but it's pretty close. So anyhow, your adjustment's going to be to the prism in here. And I think I know I discussed in a different video these ball bearings that hold this arm. Hope the resolution is good enough. See that arm that's moving? There's a ball bearing top and bottom that hold that in place and allow it to pivot. And what we're going to do now is adjust that prism this way. Get my fingers in here. This way, instead of this way. In any case, top's already removed. Loosen up two set screws in your shutter speed adjustment knob. You loosen those up. You don't need to take them out. In fact, it's a good idea if you don't take them out. You take that cap off, and you want to remember where everything is adjusted, what speed you're set at, and anything that looks important. Make a note of where it's set, because this is, again, a great way to not only screw up the adjustments in your camera, but also destroy your camera. So take that knob off, take out the screws to this housing here. There should be 3 screws. My camera only has 2, and you'll see them. There's 1, 2, and 3. I know my hands are in the way, but take that out, and this will lift off like that. And what I did, and again, this is not the only way to do it, this is just how I did it. It would be beneficial if you could find enough information to allow you to take this mechanism off. This is your low speed, I don't really know what you call it. It's for the low shutter speeds. It's clock works. It handles, I think, from a 30th of a second down. I think. I'm not positive about that. In any case, you take this off, and you will see in there is a big screw, and on top there's 2 little screws, not the ball bearing and not one of the 2 screws that holds the spring clip down. 2 tiny screws, and on all of the screws in this camera you'll find that they've been dabbed with what was probably varnish, I suppose, to hold the screws from moving. Now 50 plus years later, that stuff is still sticking on there, but it's brittle. So what you can do is you can take the edge of a sharp screwdriver and get in there and just chip it away like that. This has already been done on this camera. I'm just demonstrating. You can chip away any visible varnish that remains. And what I have always done, if I can find the thing now, I do this while wearing a loop, and I get right down in there so I can see exactly what I'm doing. This is, I think, a 10 power. Now what I did when it came time for the adjustment was I was able to wiggle the tip of the screwdriver in there right next to all this brass gear and this brass ring right in there. And I was able to get a hold of that larger screw and loosen that up. I think I loosened it up about 1 turn, maybe half a turn. It was somewhere in between there. It wasn't much. It was just enough to make the thing loose. And I reached into alternately each one of these holes. I dug out the varnish. I was able to get the screwdriver on that tiny little screw. And as you screw those out, in or out, in either direction, you're going to if you're looking through the viewfinder, because you still have a clear view from your eye point through this prism across and then out again, you'll see that your image is going to go in one direction or the other. Now I don't know specifically how each screw makes it move. I just did it until it looked pretty good through the viewfinder. I would give this screw a tweak in or out, and I would notice which way the image went. If it was the wrong way, I'd turn it back in the other way, and then I'd go to the alternate screw and I would turn that in the opposite direction. So I was screwing this one in, I would screw this one out, and you're not going to get much turning on this. It's going to be like maybe a quarter of a turn, and then you're going to have to alternately back up the other screw a quarter of a turn. It's going to be very much a seesaw kind of a thing. Going to tweak one, tweak the other, take a look and see what it did to your image. If it went the wrong way, reverse the process. And I just kept doing that until the two images came and lined up as good as I could get it. And then I went back to my larger screwdriver, I reached in there and I tightened that screw up. It was hard to get in there because you've got this thing in the way, and you can really screw this thing up if you're not careful. Because if you pop this thing out of there accidentally, remember, this thing moves. The thing you're working on moves. If you pop that out of there accidentally and lose those ball bearings, well, good luck finding replacement tiny metric ball bearings that are the exact same size, that will fit in the exact same way. If you're going to try this, I would recommend trying it on a donor camera first, which is what I did. Everything I did to my good camera got done to this one first. That's why it's no longer in working condition. But I did that. I loosened this one, alternately screw in or screw out each one of these. You have to work opposite each other. Like I said, screw this one in, screw this one out. That will, I don't exactly know what is in there, but whatever it is needs both screws again, hands are in the way. Whatever it is needs both screws to work together to make the prism rotate. Screw this one in, screw that one out, screw that one out, screw this one in, just like that. And do it until the images are pretty close, or as close as you think you can get them. And I stopped with pretty darn close. And then I tightened the thing up, and when I was done, it had tweaked a little bit, so it wasn't as perfect as it had been when I was finished. But bear in mind, every time you apply pressure to any of these screws, the whole thing is being torqued a little bit. So if you're not obsessive compulsive, this may work for you. If you are obsessive compulsive about details, this may not be the answer for you. Also, the last camera, the last Zorki 4 I got, I bought it as not working. I fiddled with it for a while, and I discovered that right here, again, resolution is a problem. Right here, you're going to see, well, this thing doesn't turn anymore, but it should. The cogged wheel that the film travels on, and this gear down here, they have tabs that have to work together. Now, if this camera was still in good condition, in working condition, this would have a little bit of up and down motion, and it would turn. What I discovered on the last one that I bought was that this sprocketed film taker-upper thing, I don't know what it's called, was jammed with this bottom gear. They weren't working together, and it took a little bit of working it with my thumb, a little bit of up and down, a little bit of side to side, and a little bit of winding and firing, or trying to fire the shutter. The camera was locked up tight. Shutter wouldn't work. I couldn't change the film speed. I fiddled with it for a few minutes, and I got those two to work together again. This cogged thing here came down where it was supposed to be. It was stuck up a little bit. It came down where it's supposed to be, and it worked with the tab that's on this lowest gear here, and after that the camera began to work. That was the one that had so many viewfinder issues. So if that helps, great. If not, well, continue your quest for repairs and maintenance instructions. Those are just two things that I have done to my cameras to keep them working, and it's been successful so far. So good luck.